Hi guys, back to our third video which we have to go for. Last class I was discussing about how do you just work with your database connections to PHP, and therefore we have created a database also, and you can see the files here which I have saved in the project called Crud, and you can see that this is in connect.php, and I have some host name and again wing, and we are having no password with the details, and Crud is our database. So if you can go and check with your account in database, so I'm just trying to open the browser and type your database, okay, and then going to type localhost and php admin. And here you can see our database called Crud. Okay, so I'm going to access this through PHP pages localhost, as I'm saving my files in htdocs with a folder name called Crud. You can see here that I've been saving here with XAMPP htdocs Crud. Okay, so this is some of the folder connect. So I'm going to go and open this page. I've got no errors. Reason is I have been connected to localhost root and the database called Crud. So with this connection we are able to connect to server, and with this we are able to select database. So further to this continuation, we need to create a table, so that let's say I want to hold some records in the database called Crud. So I have to hold some details. So for that I need a table. So first and foremost thing, a table should always be created based on the collection of data we gather from the user. Let's say I have got a registration form and I want to have some details of the users to get registered in our website. So for some reasons, you can understand what I'm saying. I want to go to Facebook and show you. See, Facebook needs something called users details called name, surname, mobile number, and they are checking with email, password, kind of birthday and gender. So in our case I'm going to go and create our own table. So table is nothing but a registration form is nothing but a user details that has to be carried and stored inside the database. For that I need a table, but before we ever create a table, you should be very much clear with what kind of table, what kind of registration details you're asking to the user. So for that you need to know how to work with registration forms. So I hope, just give me a second here. So I hope what I mean to say is you need to create a registration form, and registration form depends on what kind of user you are trying to register, what kind of details you want to carry up from the user. So registration form is something you should already know while you're working with these classes, because I'm expecting that you guys have already understood HTML forms and validating through JavaScript. So I'm going to get one HTML form which I've already got in my server. So I'm going to go and refresh this page with the Crud again. I do see I have got a new page called forms. When I click on this, I do see these are the details, and I'm going to say that this has to be removed. I've got my tools option. It's something cache remembrance, or my security has got remember, so I'm unchecking this so that this unwanted remembrance will not be there. So I want this to be getting registered. So if you want to create this, you need to learn HTML and CSS and some JavaScript to get validation. So how do I store these details in database is the first point. But before we go and store this into the database, a registration form is what I have created, and this is something I'm expecting from the users, the details of a data that user has to pass. Now once he fetch all the details and insert the values, he's going to submit, and the values has to be traveled through get or post. In my case I'm going to take post, and once we travel through post, I'm going to give this details to the database so that database will store it. First and foremost thing, you cannot have in your server form.html pages. So I'm going to convert this page to a .php. So I'm going to go to Crud, and this is a page. Edit this. I've got some style page, and this is a form. You can see all of these details like name, date of birth, password, everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go file, save as, and I'm going to convert this page to .php. So this is something called rich form .php. So I've got my .php page. Now that I don't need this one, a forms.html, so I'm going to remove this and go and edit this page. So I've got forms.php. Now I'm going to refresh this page same. I'm going to open this URL, close it, and now you see rich form.php. So I've got the same form with the .php as the extension. Now user going to enter some values like Rajesh or raj@gmail.com. So you're going to take these values and store in database. So to store in database, you need to create a design. The details of a user is being entered. Now these details has to be stored into the tables, but we don't have any table. So we need to create a table. A table would always be created based on the details getting fetched from the user. So I need this tabular design in my database. So to create that, we'll go and create it. I'm going to take a white paper, something like text document. Let's say I'm going to go with something called SQL file, or else let's say I'm going to go and say create DB. Okay, so I'm going to make this as create DB. Okay, I've got like DB file. Now let's try to write something called, what are the things you want to create in a table? That depends on the registration form. So first we need name, email. So I'm going to go for creating $SQL is my query. I'm going to start my PHP. Okay, so I've got my started server and I'm going to close it. $SQL is equal to, let's say I'm going to say create table users. Okay, first thing is first you need an ID. So I'm going to create ID small int. Okay, I'm going to make it 5, 65,535. The ID should be generating positive numbers. I'm going to take unsigned, and I want this to be a primary key, and I want this to be auto implement by itself. So I've got my ID. Next I'm going to create a name. Reason is we have first name, so I'm going to go and say name, I'm going to go with varchar, and I'm going to say this as name. Obviously if you learn JavaScript, you will write the conditions in JavaScript with regular expressions stating that you have alphabets, and you will go with minimum will go with 2 and maximum maybe 30. So maximum size could be 30. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and say maximum size is 30, varchar 30. I'm going to say this as not null, means value is compulsory. Thereafter I'm going to create email. So email, that I'm going to use varchar. If you don't know the length, just go and create something around 70. I'm going to make this as not null, and as email is unique, I'm going to say this as unique. Next I'm going to go with date of birth, as we have date of birth first. So date of birth, format is date, not null. Next we are going to go with password. So I'm going to say keyword, I'm going to say char 32, as my things going to be with MD5, or in case I can use SHA-1. In my case I'm using SHA-1. I'm going to say this as not null, and thereafter we are not going to store any confirm password. We are going to go with gender. So I'm going to go with gender. I'm going to say enum, and I'm going to say this as male. Male and female, and that's it. I'm going to say this as not null. Next we have language. I'm going to say language. I'm going to go with English, Hindi, Telugu. So I'm going to go with something around varchar. I'm going to go with something around 100. I'll let you know what kind of format I'm going to store it, but at this point of my time, just allow me that the size is varchar 100. That's for language. Country, I'm going to go with country. I'm going to say char or not varchar, I'm going to go with varchar. I'm going to make this also something around 100 and just go with not. As varchar can reduce its length, so be careful about that. In my understanding, I'm just reducing or increasing the size. If it is India, it would just create India as a 5 characters. If it is lengthy, it just goes with lengthy, so no tension about that. Next, I'm going to go with address. I'm going to say tiny text, and I'm going to say not null. Then I'm going to go with the picture. I'm going to say varchar. I'm going to make it 100. Okay, and thereafter I'm going to go with not null. After that, that's all the end of the details that you are covering from the user. Apart from that, I'm going to additionally add some details like registered on, when this guy is registered. So I'm going to use timestamp, default, current underscore timestamp, and thereafter I'm going to say status. I'm going to use enum, and I'm going to pass active. I'm going to just declare default as inactive. Okay, just to kind of details, and thereafter I'm going to close this, and this is my last query. So if this is a table that I'm creating, and this table was already being created based on the vision of the registration form. Now that I have to create, and actually if I don't have any PHP way, I could have copied this one and store in a PHP box with SQL box, but this is not we are using. We have to execute this query through PHP pages. So I'm going to go with create TV, but before I click on this, I'm going to go and say include underscore once connect.php. okay, if you don't connect, let's see what happens. So I'm not going to connect, and first of all you need to execute this query. So to execute, I'm going to use MySQL underscore query of $SQL. okay, so I'm going to write if query got executed. I'm going to write here echo table got created successfully. Okay, else I'm going to write here echo unable to create table, and I'm going to say something like reason it MySQL underscore error. So this is going to give me some error about what exactly is going wrong. So I'm going to just push up this with concatenation. So it's just going to explain me what exactly went wrong. MySQL underscore error. Okay, so let's go and run this code and see what happens. So I'm going to execute this and see what exactly it will just explain me. So I'm going to go and refresh this page, and I see unable to create table, no database selected. So you can see that the difference is I have just got here something like break. I might just use italic and just concatenate with this as italic also if you want. So this makes me to explain the same story in a kind of this way. Unable to create table, no database selected. So guys, I already told you in GUI tool, if you write any queries or create a table, you should have its database. So you cannot execute the query here, because if you are creating a table, you need to tell which database on whom you are creating a table. So you should be here and just create a table here. But the problem is you haven't got any database. So what I will do is I'm going to go on top of the page and say include underscore once. I'm going to say this as connect.php. And now what happens is when I connect this file, I'm going to be including this file actually. Okay, and this file is going to connect to my server, as well as it is going to be selecting my database. After selecting my database, the query is going to be executed in the following. So we'll go and refresh now. As this, we have this connect.php. Now we'll go and refresh. Table got created successfully, and once table got created with the name table called users, you cannot create another table. If I refresh this, see, unable to create table user already exists, and this is a dynamic error which is generated by differently but this one. So we'll go and see whether really database got we have table or not. So I'm going to refresh this page, and now I've got users, and the MySQL has got no details yet, but when I see the structure, yes, this is where I've created just now this table, and this table has created a new table called user, and this code has actually created the query. So now that we have a registration form, you can see here a registration form, and when I enter the details and submit, these details should come to the database and stored. Suppose I'm entering name, email, date of birth. These respective values should come and store within the respective fields. In this way, I'm going to create something around many users, and they will be getting stored permanently. Okay guys, now that the table is ready, okay, the table is ready and the form is ready. Now all we have to do is enter the values and submit, and these values should be stored in database. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to currently explain you on the next video. Okay guys, I hope you got the idea behind what I'm exactly explaining you. So I'll see you on the next video, and with the next session of how to enter the values and store these details in database. Okay guys, I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.